Roll up for the mystery tour. That's an invitation to make a reservation. So unless Town can win at Premier League chases, Ipswich, Birmingham lose, and Plymouth lose with a 16-goal swing, the magical mystery tour is coming to take us all away. Welcome to the Andy Takes That Chance podcast, episode 211. I am the Walrus, Matt Shaw, and today I have with me the fool on the hill, Richard Kosmala, a man your mother should know in Phil Senior, and a chap who's known the League One fields forever. It's Dom Howson. How are we doing, guys?
Very average.
Very average.
I was doing okay until that intro, Matt.
Yeah.
I went full Beatles, didn't I? But first of all, I just want to thank Huddersfield Town for sending me home with an air fryer from the game on Saturday. You know, it's very much appreciated. And what a Saturday that was, eh? But before we get into that, let's do our sponsors. So this episode, as always, is sponsored by Magic Rock Brewing. Use our code of AHTTC10 for 10% off all of your online orders at www.magicrockbrewing.com. And don't forget, you can go there on a match day or even just in the summer because it's got quite a nice beer garden-y type thing at the back and some food vendors. So there we go. Right. None of us really want to do this, do we? But let's go pre-match first. There were some internet rumours abound about how Andre Breitenreiter was never there and always in Germany, which was kiboshed by the owner, Mr. Nagel. And then Andre Breitenreiter came out swinging in the presser, didn't he, really? Just some of the quotes. So just throw some of the quotes at you first from the presser, and then we can kind of discuss them. And I've got something to discuss about Andre after we talk about the game as well. So this is what he says. This is how we conceded the 4 goals at Swansea were totally unacceptable. It wasn't tactics, but individual behaviour, with players not willing to run backwards, and some players didn't give their best, so he understood the fans' reaction. You need mentality in every game, not in every game, in every other game, and we don't have it. I cannot teach passion, heart, and behaviour, so we have to cross our fingers. This is how it works. Have good work, have good communication, try your best. Don't think you are much better than you really are. And then he said, Tom Lee's got his injury because players stopped running. And he said, we can accept mistakes, but run. Win duels. Try. We didn't try. It was clear. I mean, that's pretty scathing from Andre Breitenreiter to start with, isn't it? And we'll move on to the game itself, Town 1-1, because those comments lead really into the starting lineup. And we saw, in particular, Delano Bergzorg and Saber Thomas were left out of the first 11. People will say 1 + 1 = 2. They're two of the people that don't really work hard and were part of the problem, if you like. Interesting comments, Kosi. You were quite taken aback, weren't you, when you first saw them?
Yeah, obviously his comments after probably trumped the comments before, but
well, we'll come to that.
Really weird, Matt, because he was like, for me, it was either A, obviously this is a man who's not going to be here, so let's get all the cards on the table and go out swinging, or B, he's going to be here next season and he's been given free rein to do whatever he wants to do and he's not bothered with friends. It's been really interesting, Matt. I'm in loads of WhatsApp groups like probably you are and stuff, and there's a real divided camp on that, mate. I were like, bravo, Andre, blah, blah, blah. Others are saying, stupid to come out with this. You know, he's got to win this game, you know, do this after the season. He's trying to cover up his own, you know, misdemeanors. But I think the thing is, Matt, and I was saying, I suppose I answered my own question to them guys, though, as well. I said, if Neil Warnock does that, everyone's like getting, you know, spot on Neil. But he's got the credit in the bank and the promotions and the, you know, the credit in the Huddersfield Town Bank, and Breitenreiter's not. But it was quite unbelievable, really, mate, because I think all our press conferences are pretty sedate, pretty dull. Catherine and Anna asking pretty dull questions, of being honest with you, but Andre were just firing some absolute bombs back. And yeah, you know what, mate? I just felt that, I felt for a while that we'd been going down, but I just thought, wow, this is a guy he's kind of had enough. And I've just felt as each passing weeks come, Matt, that on these press conferences, Andre has been absolutely shocked, like we all have, that there's just lack of the ability, lack of skill. I remember when I was like manager at work a bit ago and that as well, I used to say, is it skill or is it will why this person is performing? Is it skill? Have they got the skill or have they got the will? Or is it a bit of both and that as well? And I think you look at some of our players and he's probably more will than skill. And obviously, let's not beat around the bush. Sorba Thomas, who's, you know, on all these things you see for these championship things on Facebook and Twitter, that leading assist and blah, blah, blah. He's out on the cold, mate. And that's a damning predicament of a guy who's probably done more than most to keep Huddersfield in. But Andre showed his hand with Alex Matos earlier on in the season when everybody were like, get him in, get him in. Obviously, we were playing a lot before, especially in the Worthington and prior. And all of a sudden, you know, he's not getting in for like, what's it, about 4 or 5 games where he didn't even start. So
It was tactical, though, that rather than anything else.
yeah. But Breitenreiter wants to run it his way. I think he's just appalled at everything that's gone before him. And I like the fact that, I mean, obviously we'll come on to the post-match later on, but this was like, Jesus, this is unbelievable. Going to a must-win game. His critics have said, oh, well, they should be getting everyone together. But we've tried all that. We've had 500 different managers and mollycoddling him, and we've gone this way and that way in approach. I think Andre is just like, look, mate. But the critics of Breitenreiter are saying, well, hang on a minute, mate. You're covering your own back. What have you actually done, man? Worthy did more than you. So I can kind of see both sides, but I would applaud him what Breitenreiter did.
Phil, as a former pro, how would you have felt hearing and reading those comments from Breitenreiter before and after?
I don't think some of the players will be shocked, will they? So when he comes out and says that, I think it'll be targeted players, obviously, like you've mentioned, and I think, you know, it's a way of trying to get the best out of the players, maybe, or getting them together and bringing a bit of unity. Because for him to come out and say that, there must be some seriously wrong behaviours within that squad. There must be. I'm just a bit disappointed that he's not maybe done things sooner and he's left it so late to kind of come out and say this. But I have no problems about him coming into media and talking about specific players. I mean, he's not named anyone. Which I think is probably the best way around it. But I think it's just that understanding now for the fans of what actually is going on. But like I said, I go back to it. I'd have rather him done it a little bit earlier, to be honest.
Do you know, he said that post-match that's one of his regrets, that he hadn't dropped players. I think he said suspended, but effectively what he meant was, you know, dropped, start to leave out some of the players earlier. And
you can imagine, can't you? Yeah, you can imagine it's a difficult situation. Some of these players are players that have been influential. Look at Bergzorg, you know, the game on Saturday was a moment we're crying out for him, a little bit of pace up front, getting behind him and something a little bit different. But and Sorba played brilliant all season. And I don't buy into this Saber Thomas doesn't really work hard, because I think within times during the season this year, he's been one of the lads who's grafted most up front, trying to pick up pieces and things. So I don't really buy into that too much. I think Sorba Thomas is more body language, and I think he's probably the key in where they're talking about the fact that you think you're better than what you are.
We'll probably go into it later, but I have to say I thought Thomas was really poor after he came on yesterday.
What about the way he walked?
It didn't work for me.
Yeah.
But again, and that's where it goes back, I think, to the Breitenreiter comments of where I think certain players might have got fired up, or he might have got a reaction. And what Kosi was just saying about, he's just gone, well, you know what, it's the last resort, penultimate game of the season, do or die. I'm just going to say it as it is now. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything.
One thing that Matt didn't mention there, he mentioned selfish, and he might as well have just said Bergzorg. He
did. Oh, that's who he was aimed at, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, he said selfish. We'd have had a goal if that player's not being selfish. To hear a manager call a player selfish, I'm trying to think of, like, would Mourinho even say that? Someone like that? I don't think it were unprecedented for me. It were really like wide mouth open popcorn moment.
But it smacks of me as of a manager saying that who knows he's not going to be here next season. You know, those are the sort of comments, or you know, as a manager, that he's had discussions behind the scenes, and he knows Bergzorg's not going to be there, and that there's going to be a huge clear out in the summer. And so these talks have gone. And so he said to Nagel, Jake Edwards, and he said, this is what we need to do. You can either back me or I'm going to go. And there's probably a break clause in his contract for this summer anyway. So there'll be a sit-down talk. I've got no doubt about that when he'd have joined. I mean, what was it? Was it 2.5 year contract or whatever he signed? But
2026, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So it would have, I'm sure it would have included, or it would have said, well, actually, we're going to reassess in the summer. And then, you know, if we're relegated. And I think this is what it comes back to me. And this is where, when we talk about the bigger picture of Town and where they go forward, you're looking at it and going, the body of work and what Breitenreiter has done it's not been anywhere near enough. It just hasn't. He just hasn't shown anywhere near enough for me. And Matt's probably killing me here because we're going miles ahead of it. I'm taking a leaf out of your book.
It's like
Kosi.
having two Kosis. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, sorry, Matt. So
one with slightly more hair, though.
Yeah, but you're
not
always
by a lot.
But Dom, this has been building up, mate, because he's turned big time. And Stoke was an interesting one after that, because I remember again Catherine Anna saying, you know, again, we're too pussyfooting about our media, mate. I think at Huddersfield, we're too pussyfooting about, and they were like, "Oh, your strikers have managed to score," and then Breitenreiter just said back, he said, "Well, that's the job." He's almost like Roy Keane, and it's like, you know, he was like, "That's what they're paid to do. That's what they're there for." And it's like we're that much trying to like encourage them by being nice and everything like that as well. You know, honestly, he just had enough. And from that moment, every press conference he's been kind of really forward in that as well. But he's right. The bat's so low at Huddersfield Town. We're buzzing because like Reece Healy got a goal and Radulovic got a goal at Stoke. Well done, lads. Well, hang on a minute. That's what you're paid to do. That's what you were brought in to do. Brilliant. You've scored 2 goals and that. Obviously, he's done a bit better and he's been injured. But it's embarrassing, isn't it? Media's like, oh, you know, trying to encourage him and stuff like that. Breitenreiter, honestly, I like his approach and it's firm and it's gonna walk, you know, go down swinging. But again, there's so much.
Let's round off the Breitenreiter stuff. We'll talk about his post-match stuff because it just all fits together, doesn't it? So some of his post-match comments, he says some players are more disappointed than others. Some left early, but they leave early every day, and it's a question of heart and passion. This is a problem in the team. The whole season, I've made some mistakes. I waited too long to suspend players, like Dom said. To find players that play with heart and passion. And in the press room, he said, in my opinion, we had really honest players on the pitch today. I cannot tell you about the problems, but if I did, you would understand what I mean. Unacceptable things have happened and things that have happened in the last 2.5 months that is not seen in 30 years in professional football. And my question is, I sort of look at Breitenreiter and think, finally, this is a guy who dares stick his head above the parapet and dares call out these players, because it's blatantly obvious these players have been a bunch of pillocks for 2 years now. And there's players that are getting away with murder. And he mentions as well that, you know, at times he didn't have a lot of options because sometimes there's a lot of injuries. You know, look at midfield. He's having to play Mattis and Kasumu because they're the only 2 fit ones, really. But I won't say Ben Wiles is 100%. And he's been forced into playing some people that he probably doesn't want to play. And the question is also mentioned as well that coming in halfway through or at that point of the season, it's impossible to get them fitter and it's impossible to put across a completely new way of playing and a new methodology at that moment in time. So with all that in mind, do you keep Andre Breitenreiter? Is he a guy, like Dom says, maybe on his way out, and maybe he's protecting his reputation a little bit by throwing the players under the bus and going, look, this isn't my fault. These are all these dickheads here. So maybe there's an element of that, but also maybe there's an element that he knows these players are just absolutely not fit to wear the shirts, as Huddersfield fans sing, and that he's the man here that can get rid of these and shake them up, shake the remaining ones up, and then push them forward again. Which way do you go? Because as Dom says, he's not really improved that much points per game on Darren Moore. He's barely improved on it, and Darren Moore was poor, but he's got the reputation. He's got the CV. Do you keep him and get rid of the players? Or do you just completely start again with everything? Or do you keep the players? Which way do you go, Dom, with this?
I think at the moment I'm erring on that I think Town needs to completely start again in the summer. And I think it needs an overhaul. And I just have not seen enough from Breitenreiter to suggest that there's been buy-in from the players. And he's still got to work with some of these players going into next season. And I do, you know, when you're looking at positives, I do think there's a nucleus of young players that I think in League One could shine in a team where you get the right blend of youth and experience. And there isn't that there at the moment. And so you're looking at it. And I just think with Breitenreiter, tactically and with his team selections, he's got too much wrong for me. And when you consider he came in and they got a fortuitous win at Watford, a good draw against Leeds. I think they might have actually won against Leeds if Hoggy hadn't got sent off. I could have seen that from the way they played in the first half. But 1 win and 11 since Watford, it's just not good enough. Town needed an impact. They needed someone to come in and galvanise this group, similar to what Warnock did last year. And we haven't seen it. He's chopped and changed the team. You're totally right when it comes to injuries, but that's been the same for all managers for Town this season. And when you're talking about doing a deep dive into where everything's gone wrong for Town, injuries is a huge part of it. You know, for me, I've said it on social media in the last week, Jonathan Hogg has been a big miss for the last 7 games. Town needed that sort of experience and leadership that's been lacking. We could have done with him as an option. When we have spoken on this podcast before, we've all said, where were Town crying out for a player in January? It was in midfield, right? That writing, Darren Moore, someone to actually make things happen, and that's again recruitment, injuries, decision making from the top. It's all come together to make this sort of perfect storm of where it's gone horribly wrong for Kevin Nagle.
Perfect shitstorm, isn't it, really?
Yeah, 100%.
Kosi, do you put faith? I know you're always a champion of the Bolds, but Dom's mentioned a big rebuild there. Is Mark Cartwright the right person to rebuild this or help rebuild this? Because his reputation coming into the club, I know he's the one taking bullets on social media at the minute, and I don't think you can really blame Mark Cartwright too much for last summer, because Neil Warnock was the man with the reins last summer in terms of the fitness of the squad, in terms of the signings. He had control. That was part of the reason he came.
Yeah, but Matt, was Warnock backed sufficiently? And again, so was Cartwright involved in last summer when only 4 players come in? One being the worst loan signing of the last 20 years, another being a
That's
backup
a big
goal.
call. That's
well,
a big call.
It's right up there, isn't it? Backup goalkeeper, right? And then I can't even remember the other 2 positions. Ben Wiles, we ain't going to go there.
Ben Wiles, yeah, and Bergzorg, wasn't it? And Bergzorg wasn't a Warnock one, to be fair. I know where that came from, and that was a desperation thing because Warnock couldn't get a striker over the line.
And look, we've spoken about it again. Limitations of last summer, the fact that the takeover happened so late, I get it. So it was always going to be a tricky window to negotiate. Of course, it was, but at the same time, we're going to talk about Warnock, the fitness of the team. It was a jolly last summer, blah, 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 whatever. Mm-hmm. Again, that's why Town 27 points dropped from winning positions this season. The amount of
probably so many injuries as well.
Yeah, and so many injuries as well. So conditioning of the team and everything, I get that completely as a criticism. And I do think it's valid. But I still think what signings Town did make last summer, well, they could have been better. If we're talking about the 4 that they made last summer, the only one that has done anything this year and divides opinion is Bergdorf. That's it.
I was going to throw in as well January. You can't really judge Cartwright that much by last year, but you can January. And then in January, we needed that passing midfielder. We've gone out and we've got Matos, who's all right, but he's Kasumu, he's Hogg, he's the same sort of mold that we've already got. We've gone out and we signed Bojan Radulovic from Finland, who's playing on 4G pitches, etc. And he's not played for months. He's not fit enough, and we made a big deal out of that. And his touch looks good, and maybe he might come good next year. Reece Healy and Balker, we signed 2 players who've got ACL injuries in the back pocket who will get injured, and they did get injured. And that it's the decision making there that you can judge him on, Kosi.
But it's not just recruitment. But it's not just recruitment as well, boys. You're forgetting that it's managers. He has a big input in the managers, and so where Town have gone wrong this season. So it's not just recruitment. You've got to remember that he's the sporting director, and so it was his. Again, he has to be held accountable for Darren Moore's appointment being wrong, and fans never warmed to him. They didn't want Darren Moore. There was the reaction on social media in the lead up to Darren Moore being appointed. It was there. You only had to go on Twitter, Facebook, forums to see what Town fans thought of the prospect of Darren Moore succeeding the GOAT.
Listen to me on the pod we did before he got appointed.
I think what's interesting on that, Matt, we said it at the time, and again, it's back. The only thought should it be after Darren Moore was staying in the division. I was stunned by the statement that came out about we want to play this attacking brand of football. We're saying with Moore, attacking brand of football. Once Moore had gone and Breitenreiter come in, the only thing Huddersfield Town should be bothered about is staying in the championship. I couldn't believe that statement. And then we're signing, defenders to bring the ball out of the back, and we're making it like Breitenreiter's there for 2026, and it looks like it feels like that is going.
Well,
And
they
stuff
weren't
like
they
that
weren't
as
really
well, but-
signed for Breitenreiter, were they? They were signed for Darren Moore, these
No,
players.
but it should have been. I wanted to see something like, we're going to do everything we can, or the main priority now is staying in the division. But there was none of that. It's like looking ahead, like into the future. We want exciting football on the front foot. We said it at the time, Matt. We said it. The only thing there should have been, yeah, we should have been staying in the division. It makes you wonder whether some of the club wants to go down to have this big restructure and rebuild and that as well, which I just can't. When you think of the effort to get up that, and with Simonson's penalty and Smithers and what have you, the effort and the money and the cash that were chucked at that division for year after year to get up. And it's a lot harder now. I know Derby have done well and stuff, but I don't think people get it. It's so much more harder to come back up, in my opinion, than it is to stay up, and we blew it. The Cartwright thing's interesting, mate, because I saw the report from a Stoke guy last night. He didn't even like copy Huddersfield in, but it's just like the thing Huddersfield need to do straight away in the summer is get rid of Mark Cartwright. Stoke were going down the pan, blah, blah, blah. But to be fair, when I went down to Stoke, I would chat with some people in the bar and they thought Mark Cartwright were really good. So it does divide opinion. And what we're interested in as well is Breitenreiter's statement. I mean, part of me wonders, does he get a payoff or whatever? But he made a point of, I don't know about praising Cartwright, but he signalled him out as if he's nothing wrong. He's done nothing wrong here. And I'll never forget Kevin Nagle in January when he did one of those video things and that as well. And I'll quote him. He said, Mark Cartwright has overachieved in the January window. And I couldn't believe it, because I think, like just Dom said there, we were wanting a...
You can't say that until they've played either, can you? That's
he said he
that.
overachieved in January.
I don't know what's the worst quote of the year. It's either that one or Jake Edwards after getting rid of Neil Warnock, saying that we've hired Darren Moore from a position of strength.
Or the attacking football. Just take
your pick. But I mean, so how many of these lines come out just Town just ending up eating their own words and left with humble pie, and you just think, I know what Kosi's saying there, and I just think for Mark Cartwright, I mean, if you're Kevin Nagle and you're looking at value for money, how can you look at Mark Cartwright and say that, well, you've ended up getting relegated and potentially finishing second from bottom, and you're responsible for recruitment of managers and players?
Shall I tell you something, Dom? On the managers, I heard from sources. I don't usually I won't divulge who sources are, etc. But I heard that Mark Cartwright didn't want Darren Moore, and he wanted a different manager, and it was someone else who picked Darren Moore. And I also heard, and he was quite open as well, that Andre Breitenreiter wasn't his either. And I think there's another question that needs answering there, is if Darren Moore wasn't Mark Cartwright's man, and if Andre Breitenreiter is not Mark Cartwright's man, why isn't Mark Cartwright making those decisions? Because that's his job, to go full Roy Keane.
Well, and also, why is Kevin Nagle trusting him then? Well, he clearly doesn't. He doesn't.
Or he obviously doesn't. And if he doesn't, why is he there?
Why is he at the football club? Yeah, I just think when you're looking at the summer and the changes have got to happen, I mean, a Town have got to be so ruthless. They've got to be so efficient in everything they do. There's got to be clarity when it comes to the manager's position straight away. Then you get round to rebuilding the squad from top to bottom. And you'd like to think that the Town will have a healthy budget. It's not like Phil from 20 years ago, is it? With Jacko, when he came in and he had 7 players. At least as a base, and really, I was going to ask Phil about this, but but like at least they've got some players that I think in League One, I could see doing well. I could see a Headley and a Spencer, maybe even Ben Jackson. Ollie Turton, I think, has been a big miss for Town this season. I think there's players in the squad where I think there's players to work with, but what Town have to build is a spine. And like what Jacko did, I thought for the year 2004, he did do that. If you look at people like Soji, people like Yates, Tony Cars, and then he got Worthy alongside. But and then you had Boovy, and you had, of course, Abbott was a great signing after Steady. But that's like what Town need now, because they just haven't got that right now. And you're looking at the pace of the back four. Like even yesterday. It's no point us talking about Birmingham. Who cares? It's not about. No one's bothered about Birmingham. Town are down, and you just be looking at it. Hellick, Pearson, it's a slow like defense. Tom Lee's like it needs a shake up. It needs like the whole team needs like an injection of pace and like youth and athleticism just across the board for me.
And the experienced players for me need to be driving the club forward as well. They can't be the bad eggs in the changing room, etc. No mentioning any names. But yeah, so I just a quick show of hands. I think I'd keep Breitenreiter if possible. I know he's done not masses over the last few months to suggest that he'll take us back up, but I just think that he knows what the issues are, and his CV sort of suggests, Phil, that maybe he could be the right person to take us back up. And I'm just sick of changing managers, to be honest.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, I mean, the club's crying out for stability, isn't it? You're right. But, I mean, how many games is Breitenreiter going to get next year? I mean, are we going to be judging him after 10? You know, if we're not judging him on the 12-13 match season he had. And he did inherit a bad hand. We should say that. You know, it's not like he was able to sign any players. He's had to work with this underperforming squad. Like, you know, so and he's got injuries to key players, so I do have some sympathy for him. So I know where you're coming from, Matt. That I mean, really, he hasn't been given a fair chance, has he? But he's got to be backed.
Phil, I want to ask you a question. This is what I don't get. So we went from Darren Moore, right? The one thing that I want to ask you is, it doesn't matter now, really, but would we have more chance of staying up under Worthy? And why did things totally change under Worthy in regards to a playing? We were doing stuff we'd never seen before under Moore and even Warnock and even Breitenreiter after. Without the players, almost like protest vote was saying, up yours, with that Worthy's great coach. Why were that 5 games or whatever? It was the weirdest thing ever, mate. And that's well. And do you think that we would have stayed up if Worthy had carried? I know he didn't want it, but what's your thoughts? It just baffles me that bit of the season, mate.
I keep talking about this because people are saying it's manager's fault, it's the chairman's fault, it's the players' fault, it's the fans' fault. So it's someone's fault in it, and we're trying to work out whose fault it is. And I keep going over and over and over this. Why could Worthy get a tune out of those players? So if these players don't have the skill, ability, etc., and they weren't playing amazing with Worthy, but why was he getting a tune out of them? Why would all these players that are difficult playing for him? Why were they, you know, putting the neck on the lines? Why were they probably running further than what they normally run? Why was there more a clearer way of playing? You know, Worthy likes to play football. I've never seen the ball. We got the ball forward quicker. We turned the centre halves. We scored a goal on Saturday because we turned the ball into a corner. We had 2 strikers. We put the ball into the channel. We got 2 strikers on the pitch. That was one of the first times we put the ball into the channel. We turned their centre halves. We scored a goal. And then for the rest of the game, we didn't do that. So I have no idea why. We did 5 minutes. 5 minutes of turning the ball. 5 minutes of putting the ball in the channel and getting in behind them. And then we stopped doing it. So, but Worthy seemed to get this out of the players. And I know he had results like he did at Southampton, but at least they were trying to have a go. And it was kind of like, no, you know, he had nothing to lose really. But you're right, because like, why? I think they probably could have done something. They had some momentum with him, so I think they possibly could have won a few more games, a lot more than what Breitenreiter did. But obviously, where they didn't want it, and they wanted to go in a different direction. So, were they planning for the next season? Were they kind of resigned to the fact that we're probably down? So let's bring someone in who maybe can start from fresh next year, find these players out like he's doing, and then rebuild. I don't know.
They brought Darren Moore in for his attacking football, proven exciting attacking football. These were the powers that be. It's incredible, mate, isn't it? I always think about Darren Moore sat in front of you in an interview, Phil, with like his charisma and that as well. And you walk away after having Neil Warnock in your like manager and just think, yeah, he is the man. He's just incredible, isn't it?
I mean, if you us as fans and we don't watch Chef Wednesday, if you do something really basic and ask a Chef Wednesday fan what football I like under Darren Moore,
you can ask Dom. Dom's reported on him for years. So
well, the majority would say they're pretty boring to watch. Everyone I speak to that Chef Wednesday fans said that they weren't really attacking, etc., etc. So I could do that little bit of research and find out. I don't even have to go and watch them.
I knew that.
What are these people doing? Why are they sticking the neck on the line and saying we're going to bring someone in for an attacking style of football when we literally did not attack? once.
And the issue I've got, you just raised it there, Phil, about style of play. This is the issue I've got with Breitenreiter. I don't know what his style of play is. I haven't got a clue. And they're not. Yeah, for too many games, they haven't played with a striker, and he's had strikers on the bench, and he's been playing Bergzorg, who is a winger up front.
Together.
And when you're looking at why Town have come up short this year, it's matches like Rotherham away, the worst team in the league, who've won 4 times all season. I don't care if Town were down to 10 men with half an hour to go. They'd lost 9 on the bounce. The whipping boys. Go after them. Show a bit of ambition. And Preston, even if they didn't have the collapse, if it goes 1-1, take the point, and Town would have potentially still been in with a huge chance. And in fact, they were, because the next day results went for them. So after Preston, Town still had 4 matches to go of where they're outside of the bottom 3, of where the fate was in their own hands, and they weren't good enough. And we know what happened to Bristol City. There's no point going there. That's bad luck, and Town have had a bit of that. But that's what happens when you're a team that struggles. You do get decisions, a lot of decisions that go against you.
Talking me out of Brighton right now for next season, but
I'm doing my best.
Shall we move it on? Let's talk about the game. Why not? Let's talk about that wonderful game.
Before you talk about the game, I knew we had to win, and I knew we wouldn't win.
We all knew we wouldn't win because we're shit, Kosi.
Yeah, but we equalised, and they're like, and everyone's like, "Come on, here we go." I knew we wouldn't see it through. I knew we wouldn't win because that's just what we are, mate. We obviously weren't going to win that game, and they were absolute garbage with Birmingham, mate. They should go down next Saturday if there's any justice. Plymouth, but
as someone here, I watch a lot of Championship football, and that first half was diabolical. It was 2 awful football teams. It really was. Passes astray. Like in Town's case, you're wondering how are they trying to break Birmingham down. Rodoni goes close, but that was it. You're thinking it's shit or bust. Like you've got to win. Like you're thinking intensity, like play with some tempo and purpose. There was none of that from either side.
Commentators were like, "Oh, they're so nervous." I'm like, "It's not to do with nervous, mate. It's 2 shit teams. Look at your league table, mate. Not to do with nerves. They're rubbish."
But I will say this: I thought second half they did. It just showed up. Unfortunately, Town's limitations. I thought they gave it everything second half. You get the early goal, and it wasn't Birmingham that sent Huddersfield Town down. It's what's gone on the 44 matches before, and they have the corners at the end, and they put the pressure on, but they didn't test the goalkeeper a lot. Let's be honest. It's just no quality in the final third.
What's that, Phil?
Why didn't Lee Nichols just not stand on the goalkeeper for these corners? He was like,
he didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to do, did he? That were amazing. When Nichols came up, have you ever seen Talladega Nights with Will Ferrell? And he's like, he gets interviewed for the first time. And he's just got his hands up, and he's like, I don't know what to do with my hands. Lee Nichols was like that in the penalty box. He's like,
just
where do I stand
on the goalkeeper?
To be fair, it was thrust on him, and he's a goalkeeper. But it was just like he was just like, what do I do? it was funny.
I know teams are
fish
like
out of water.
I know obviously there's been great teams over the years with George Graham on set pieces, but I've never known a team another Huddersfield Town team that is so reliant on set pieces. It is embarrassing, mate. It is embarrassing. Then it's like,
but Kosi, do you know what? That's what makes it more remarkable. So we're so reliant on set pieces. Where was Saber Thomas from the start?
I don't
care. They were, but you've got to start him, haven't you? When you've got Hellick as your top scorer with 9 goals, that's where again you're thinking, even with the team for do or die yesterday.
It must have been something that happened though, Dom. You're not telling me like.
Yeah, no, I mean clearly. I mean reading between the lines of what he said, it's to do with attitude, it's to do with desire and all that. So
not running back. I think that was.
Bergzorg and Thomas. Well, the 2 players that were hooked. So you don't have to be Einstein to.
I'll tell you what though, Dom, whatever happens, it'll be another pod for moving forward and stuff. But the last 3, under even Carlos. We were unbelievable set pieces. Warnock set pieces. I just want to see another Town team. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Set pieces is a massive part of teams doing well. I just want to see a team that's not reliant on set pieces because it's so boring, mate. It's like
I just want to see a team that can pass the ball 5 yards to their own man. I'm sick of watching David Kasumu put the ball into touch when he tries to pass. It's embarrassing. And Sorba Thomas is bad. I don't understand how someone can whip a set piece from 60 yards on someone's eyebrows and not pass a ball 5 yards to someone's feet. It just flummoxes me. But I want to talk about the system a little bit, Phil. It just seemed Town had real problems, didn't they, with the system initially, and there were like big holes everywhere, and that Mayoshi seemed to get in behind, and it was like neither a 4-4-2 and neither a 3-5-2. It was like a halfway house. It was in between, and they just kept getting into spaces, didn't they, sort of behind Brodie Spencer. And the goal is just so frustrating because from our point of view, it comes from an aimless punt across field from Hellick, who had nothing on because players are hiding and they don't want to receive the ball. So he has to sort of hit this 60-yard crossfield pass, which goes to the Birmingham left back. He advances completely unchecked, and then it gets played to Keshi Anderson, and Matos and Turton. Neither of them really want to block the cross. Kosi's favourite, blocking
I know,
crosses.
Matt, I was spewing with that.
And Matos, I blame Matos more than Turton for it, and they just don't do anything. Pearson can't really do it. Spencer doesn't know whether to cover the centre of defence or go with a man, and doesn't either. And then it's just a tapping at the far post, and it's just a mess, isn't it?
It was a tight angle, wasn't it? I was
good finish, to be fair.
Yeah, but I thought initially the positioning of Nichols, because the cross was pretty close when he made contact. I might have to look at it back again, but it felt like it was a really narrow angle, and I just wondered whether he could have intercepted that, whether the position could have been a little bit different. But that ball should be going into that area anyway. There's two defenders on one player. You've got to stop that cross. 100%, you've got to stop that cross, like basic football. But yeah, like going back to formations and things, I found it quite hard to watch because we were all over the place in midfield. There were gaps everywhere. At some points, Matos were kind of free when they had possession. He wasn't really marked anyone.
Wasn't he? It was wide
it just seemed really disjointed, and I don't think Matos and Kasuma were going to be those kind of players who've got that football nous to understand where they need to be, because they were literally by themselves in there. Rodoni was kind of out wide at times and kind of free rollish. It just all seemed just a little bit kind of disjointed. And for me, then, I look at my little lad when he's going through his football training, and you're working out how to get out from the back, ball into your full back, and then where are your options. And sometimes I look and I just think we have no style of play. We have, like, who's dropping short? If he drops short and it's the passing on, are we rotating in back and another player? And if not, are we staying wide? So we've got a ball into the striker's feet, but the ball was getting chipped up high to the striker when we had two up there. So there was no real. It just seemed a little bit. And going back to in terms of faith in the manager, I just feel like he's had plenty of time to work on this. For me, as soon as you come into a club, you work on your defensive line. So we try and stop the goals, and then we work out how to get out from the back. As simple as that, because then the strikers generally, they can have a little bit of flair in there. You know what I mean? So, but there wasn't anything. There wasn't any kind of formation to it for me to say, right, well, we definitely played that, because I have no idea.
Well, there was a guy behind me screaming at Breitenreiter for about 50 minutes, going, "There's no one on the right wing. There's no one on the right wing," because Ollie Turton was playing right wing back, but also right back, and also he's not played for 2 years. And let's talk about how great it is to see Ollie Turton back as well, because he's had he's a nice guy, and he's had a really rough run, hasn't he? So it was great to see Ollie Turton back, and great to see him go off unscathed as well.
It was nice to see him
play well.
Flying into a tackle just in front of the dugout, wasn't it?
On his front foot. What I liked as well, he was on the front foot, defending on the front foot as well.
Yeah.
He made a couple of little errors, but to say he's not played for 2 years, I thought that was great. And that's one positive you can take from the game is Ollie Turton back and performing. I thought that was really good. But I want to talk about the second half as well, because I thought I was going to be controversial and say that Town played well second half, but Dom's agreed with me, so I don't feel as out on my own as what I might be. But I did think Town played well. And the thing is, what kind of annoyed me, and maybe it's part of our issue, is that we score the goal. Turton plays that ball down, like you said, Phil. He plays it, sort of turns the defense. Rodoni plays it quickly, and that's what Rodoni doesn't do a lot. He delays, and his decision making so poor sometimes. But he's got a lot of talent, and that's where he shows it. It's a really good early ball, and Reece Healy's really clever. He just drops and waits to make his run. He doesn't go flying in. He waits. And he scores. It's a really good finish. It's a good goal from our point of view. Birmingham may pick apart the defensive bits, and that's fine. But for us, it's really good. We didn't do it again, but we played really well for 15, 20 minutes at the start of that second half. I thought we played really well. I gave it a go. Birmingham came back at one point, and Stansfield had a chance.
What did we create, Matt, though? I know what you're saying.
But we played well. We did play well.
Do that ruddy thing when it came out to Ely. That what it. What
Yeah,
else did we do?
played,
what else did we do?
Played well. There was a lot of good territory and a lot of good places into good areas. I thought we played quite well.
Really, I mean, what we're looking at the second half, there was a Ward shot that went, I think,
very close.
Went fairly. I saw replays of it, and then thinking it wasn't as close.
The keeper had it covered.
I thought it was closer live than it was when you see it on a replay.
Yeah.
And then there was the corner at the end that's flashed across. But Kosi's right in terms of actual chances. I thought it was a lot of Town huffing and puffing.
There's not what we're going to say, Dom, is there's not a lot of cohesion with how we play, and that was part of the problem. Really, there's a lot of effort, and I thought they played quite well, but cohesively, the team just doesn't gel. And I was watching Ipswich versus Hull on was that last night? I can't remember. Saturday night, wasn't it? And I was watching, like Phil mentioned, the rotations of the Ipswich players, how they all rotated and out, and they're so crisp with the passing in. And I know that team's been years in the making, but they were just the way they played. And we're in the same division as them, but it looked like 3 leagues apart. And, well, it might be 2 leagues apart next season. And just the way we played, I just sat there for a half an hour and I just thought, I'd love to watch a team play like this every week at Huddersfield. It's just great to watch, even if it's, League One, God forbid. But
there's no identity and there's no. Like it's where the culture's got to change at Town. Like it has to, and so that comes down to the decisions that the powers that be make, and so they have to get it right. And there's no excuses. There's no hiding place after what's gone this year. And for me, I've said it. The buck stops at the top, and it is Kevin Nagle. He signs the checks. It's Kevin Nagle that's hired. The senior management team. Is Kevin Nagle that has invested in the players, and that's it. It's great that he, I think he's got good intentions. We've seen that with Nagle, but it's spending money badly. Though I'm not applauding that. Like your Town in January, they didn't bring in the players that they needed to. They didn't, and this is why they've come up short for me. It is. It's just I'd rather than Radulovic and Healy. And Healy, I think what we've seen from Healy is that he's a finisher. And I think, again, he could be an asset for Town in League One next year. I do. I think he's a player that, to me, if you get the service to him, you might be capable of getting 15 goals. I could see around that sort of level. And Radulovic, I'm with you, Matt. Again, I think we've seen in flashes, there's a player there, Man City, bits, Stoke, lovely goal. And so if you get good pre-seasons into these players, I think that next year for Town, it'd be interesting to see what they can deliver. But we were talking about January. Town had to bring in players who were ready. They couldn't take gambles on players, and that's what they did. Even Matos, not tried and trusted at championship level, right? They needed quality players to come in immediately and make a big difference. And it's taken too long to get these players up to speed. Like from Healy, that's his first time he's played, a match, a full game. It's ridiculous. It's the ultimate match of the season. It is just a joke, and Kosi's right because it is. It shouldn't have been. It shouldn't have come to this. And he was. And Danny Ward, by the way, I mean, honestly, he was absolutely gone with 15 to 20 minutes ago. He should have come off the pitch. And again, if the manager hadn't burnt his bridges with Bergzall, he should have replaced him.
Yeah. Crying out.
What's happened to Pat Jones all of a sudden, Dom? It's like. I know he didn't cover his Sun and Glory in a couple of games, but it's like all of a sudden he's just been chucked out and that as well. It's a guy who could do something different and win us a game. He ain't got enough of them players, mate. But what a mess it is. It's just Breitenreiters. You've got to remember as well. I think I'd like to see him continue, but we were 4 points above relegation when Darren Moore left. We weren't in the bottom 3, mate. So we were above, and we had some decent fixtures. So. It is.
Well, we just finished decent fixtures, haven't we?
Well, yeah. That's I was about to say that it was 3 successive draws that did for Darren Moore against teams they should have beaten, and QPR conceded in the last minute. But we've seen it all the way through the year. Bristol City,
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
I was just looking for that, Kosi. I'm sure it's a record, isn't it, that we've had most 1-1s in the league this year.
And that doesn't that just suggest to you it's a club that just haven't gone for it. They haven't taken the handbrake off and actually gone, when it's 1-1.
We did underworthy though, Don. That was a weird thing on them 5 games. That Southampton game, it was unbelievable. We just ran out of gas. We were like, we've got a new team on here. Have we swapped all those players for someone else? I was sat here thinking, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And then
But
Sunderland do the
touching
same.
sport,
Brilliant.
the problem with Worthy is that Worthy didn't want it, and when he knows that he's seen what's happened to his mate and Danny, and so if you're Worthy, why would you put yourself through that when you've got an academy job that could be for life? And again, the club may have said to him, "You're a big part of what we're trying to build anyway for the future, and we want you in that position." And so I'm like you. I would have loved Worthy to have had more matches, and I think Town would have had a great chance of staying up, because I do think that in those 4 games, Southampton being one, Sheffield Wednesday being another, and what was it, Sunderland at home? Yeah, I thought the players were responding to his methods and what he was trying to do.
Kosi, just for you, Huddersfield Town have drawn 1-1 in 30% of their games this season, 14 1-1 draws.
What on earth?
It's got to be a record. It's got to be a record as that. I mean, last thing to talk about the game. I think the last thing I was going to mention, Dom, in that was just one of the reasons why we are where we are is you can't play well for 15, 20 minutes every game or every other game. You've got to play better for longer, and that's something Town have really struggled with. One thing I want to talk about is Sorba Thomas. I mean, I was on the Sorba Thomas train for Player of the Season a couple of weeks ago. That you've got the most creative player in the league, but then seemingly started playing for himself lately, a little bit mardy. Now I've gone from that to just thinking maybe we just need to sell this guy and recoup what we can and reinvest in someone who wants to be here. And one thing that really pissed me off on Saturday was at half-time, the subs were warming up, and Sorba Thomas and Jaheim Headley were just laughing and joking together, doing kick-ups at one side while the others were just training properly. And I was just like, you're 1-0 down in a must-win game, and you're fucking about. Do you know what I mean? Just dicking about, being dickheads. And that really annoyed me. Do you know that you've got these 2 players just blatantly don't really care? I know people show things in different ways, but just watching them just really irritated me. The other subs were sort of like, trying to do the prep and what have you, and working and passing and doing bits, but those 2 were just really annoying. And when Sorba Thomas came on, it were like a scolded child had come on, someone who'd just been told off, and they were like sulking, sulking a little bit. And I just didn't like what I saw, and I was really disappointed, really, for someone that a couple of weeks ago I was, him or Hellick Player of the Season, probably Sorba, but now I'm just disappointed
with what you were saying there about half-time, Matt, though, to me, that again comes back to Breitenreiter. That's your job to lay down the law, you and your staff, of where you're not having 2 of the subs doing their own thing to the side, and then
he's not there though, is he, Dom? He's in the changing room.
No, but I'm saying his staff. Yeah, but I know, but that's again Breitenreiter. That's his remit, though. Surely is that it's that level of professionalism of where everyone knows what they're supposed to be doing, pulling in the same direction, and it's little things like that where you think, well, it's not, is it? It's not all like that. These guys are right behind the manager. You just don't get that impression, do you, from when you see little things? Because I was looking at it at halftime and I was thinking, was Sorba coming on at halftime? That's what I was immediately thinking, because I can't see him there with the other guys.
That's the only thing I'm thinking, I'm not trying to defend him here, but maybe I am, but I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute. I've done the most probably than anyone in our team all season. I'm sure there's others with different attitudes. Why am I being dropped for this massive game where I think I could do something? So why, when he's coming on, yeah, you can think, well, I should stick it up in, but part of me thinks, well, hang on a minute, I've kind of been victimised, a bit picked out here, What about all these other people? Why me? And stuff like that as well. What I just don't get is like the Bergzorg thing. Obviously, we've seen it like building up for weeks, these kind of selfish plays where he hasn't squared it and this and that, but he still played him all right up at the start of him as well, right up until this game. So that's why I just kind of get with Brighton. We're really like last minute thing, right? Bergzorg's always been selfish, like for a good month, but all of a sudden it's an issue this week, and the Thomas thing's an issue this week. It just seems the timing's just such a weird thing.
The timing was weird, wasn't it? Just before a must-win game. I mean, the timing was weird. But I mean, I understood why he played Bergzorg up front, because he wanted Bergzorg to trigger the high press, and there's not a lot of players that we've got in the forward line that can do that. There's not a lot. Radulevic's not fit enough to run around and harass people. Healy can only play 20 minutes, 24, has been able to. So I understood why he played Bergzorg, but I mean, Bergzorg was just, he's since that Blackburn game at Christmas where he was unplayable, he had the long injury, came back, and we thought he was going to, be a big player for us, but he's just kind of slowly gone downhill and not bothered. But Phil, you're, like I say, we come for the ex-player opinion, but what's your opinion on them both?
I found it a little bit weird not playing Sorba. You played him all the way up to this point, and then you rest. We could argue out like our best player, the most attacking threat. So I did find that a little bit strange. I didn't so much with Bergzorg, because I think it's one of those where they probably were fed up with his antics and how he's being selfish. So I wasn't really surprised with that, and I quite like the fact that they put Danny and Healy up front together, because I think that's quite an interesting pairing. But yeah, it's just, I think, you know, you do have these players in your team that you've got to get on top of, and obviously they haven't, and they've probably allowed them to behave in certain ways. I'm sure if you speak to any of the players, they'll be annoyed with these players in terms of their attitudes and behaviours. But you do have that sometimes, you know. Yeah, I always go back to Pav sometimes. You know, Pav could be right in the mood, a little sod, Pavel Abbott.
Wouldn't that be sorted out in house, Phil, though, by other senior professionals?
Yeah, so because
why does it need Breitenreiter to do it? Why did Matt Pearson getting stuck on the BS?
This is what I'm just going to come to, because you have these players that could be moody at times. Well, I mean, Clyde Wynard were the same. You know, I speak to Clyde still now, and we laugh about him. Sometimes you just got to, there's players you've got to get around him, and you understand that everyone's different out there. So just in society, we're all different. So we're all three, you know, different beasts. So people treat you in different ways, kind of thing, and you've got to be able to adapt to that, don't you? But in a team game, it's different. And I noticed on the players' faces in the last month when things weren't going right from certain players, and you could see kind of like that facial expression of, oh, here we go, it's done it again. I mean, when Bergzorg didn't slide Koroma in the other day, and it was an easy tap-in, I looked and you could just see on the players' faces, they weren't shocked. And that's what's worrying, because normally it'd be, it'd be quite, obvious in the face. They weren't shocked at all. And you, like I say, go back to it again, you do have those players in your team, but it's how the group manage that. And I'll be interested to see how they have been managing those. I mean, I can't imagine Lees is going to take any crap off anyone. You know, he comes across brilliant, I think, when he's interviewed. Hoggy, etc., Matty. So, you know, what's been going on? And you know, I still know quite a lot of people, obviously, around the club, and rightly so. They don't really talk about things inside the change room, which is brilliant. They shouldn't do. But it'd be really interesting to know what has been going on. And
yeah, I mean, he said that maybe in the time he'll say. I mean, whether they will or not, it's another thing. Part of me thinks he won't get a payoff if he does come out with it. But I think going back to his comments, obviously we've talked about a lot. But when he said like Tom Lees got injured because people didn't. I can't even remember the Jurgen Klopp. Honestly, it is an incredible thing to come out with that, isn't it?
You know what? I would also say that Tom Lees shouldn't have played at Bristol City. It was quite obvious that he begged him to play, and it was wrong for Breitenreiter to put him in that position. But Breitenreiter did that as he needed a result, and so you do that sometimes as a manager. And Tom Lees, I've interviewed Tom Lees so many times over the years. I know what he's like. I said it. He's a warrior. He's a model. He's a top pro.
It could be done now, Dom.
Well, I mean, he's the type that I'd be absolutely doing my utmost to keep in the building. But he have championship offers, you know, and there'd be other players within that squad who would be looking at it, you know, of where, you know, Sorba is one of where. Yes, Sorba's got the face on, or you know, you look at him sometimes and you think, you know, look at the mood that he's in. But Phil's right, like, you know, as a group, if you've got match winners though in your squad, you find a way to tolerate them. You find a way to put up with them. So from Wynard to Abbott, and Pav got 27 goals. You know,
that season.
You know, but like that's what you do, don't you? You know, you find a way. You know, as long as they're doing the business on the pitch, you'll tolerate the crap and rubbish that they do, you know, outside of that. And
fans will as well, Dom. Not just the players, fans will, mate.
Yeah, no, they will. But this is where it's like winning football matches. Just it changes the whole mood of a football club. And the fact is that Town, for however many years now, pretty much in the Championship, 2 out of the last 12 years, they've been fighting at the bottom. So Town struggle to win a third of their football matches every year. And so you then don't have the fun, you don't have the entertainment, you don't have the excitement when you come to the John Smiths, you know, and that's where, you know, you're questioning the atmosphere and the buzz around the place. And this is what Nagel's got to address. You know, this is what the board have to.
Just going back to Sorba, I was he was probably my biggest disappointment, because I think this season there's been a little bit of a change in him, and I think he's grafted, and I think he's worked hard, and he's actually led from the front sometimes in terms of his work rate, etc. But the way he walked onto the pitch on Saturday in such an important game, it just shocked me. And his attitudes, you know, someone misplaced the pass out wide, and he probably thought he played it in front of Sorba, but Sorba had checked. Like, get on with it, you know, and you've all got to come together, and that's what really bothered me Saturday. His general attitude. And
Sorba, I thought, Phil, looked like he was playing for himself yesterday.
Oh yeah.
You know, he was like, "Oh, I'm going to come on. I'm going to change it. I'm going to, you know, it's all about ball carrying. I'm going to take us up the pitch. I'm going to make the key pass." And you're thinking, you need to play within a team structure. But I was looking at it and thinking, he's got to play on. I mean, he should be playing on the right. Play him in his best position for a start. You know, like, he's right-footed.
Yeah.
He takes corners. He takes set pieces on his strong foot, on his right. So again, to me, I thought tactically, I wouldn't be putting him on the left. And I know he has played there for Town this season, but I don't think that's where he's best, though, suited. I think it should be on the right. And so that, to me, again, is where you look at decision making. But yeah, I thought Sorba, you know, like, for all the crap criticism that Bergzog's had, I looked at Sorba and his contribution when he came on. It was just nowhere near good enough. Yeah. And it looked like a player that wants out at the end of the season.
No doubts. I think we'll have a break there. We've been going on for a while. It's been chaotic, hasn't it? So let's just have a quick break. Kosi will tell you all about McDonald's, and then we'll come back. Right. Thank you very much for joining us back. I've got one question before Kosi, you take the world on. Go on, mate.
That's a quick. I did an interview with Birmingham guy, brilliant guy, like older guy. We reminisced about old legends and what have you. But he asked me to kind of talk about his podcast, like how it started. And I said, when we started, it was second season at Premier League, and we thought we were on to a winner, didn't we? It's just been absolute disaster, pretty much, apart from that one car last season. And to be fair, they've had a bad run as well. We were comparing war stories, because Birmingham's pretty dismal, innit? Every other season they're battling to stay up, but yeah, it was just like two guys. You're just thinking, guys, just took up a different
like
sport.
I was saying earlier, I've seen Huddersfield. I go to like 5 or 6 away games a season. I've seen Huddersfield Town win 13 away games in 12 years. And 3 of those were in the Premier League. It's sort of it's depressing, isn't it? It's just a bit much.
Games, don't we?
I know, but you know, it's not all about winning, but mostly is.
It is.
But Kosi, let's say we've had a look at Birmingham this week. Moving ahead to next season, who would you want to come down with it? I mean, let's say Huddersfield Town don't win 15-0 at Ipswich and Plymouth and Birmingham lose, and on the off chance that happens, who would you rather come to? Tactically thinking, because let's say Derby have come up, a good side in that level. Portsmouth have come up, another biggish club. And then down there at the minute, Bolton are probably going to beat Barnsley.
Wasn't that a playoff game last season? Which season? It was last
season, and Barnsley beat them, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, yeah.
So I think Bolton will beat them, and it'll be Bolton versus either Peterborough or Oxford.
That Neil Collins thing, did it not remind you a little bit of Grayson? But I suppose he got
a little bit, but it was a lot later on, wasn't it?
Yeah, only one game, innit? It's a bit mad, that, isn't it? Collins
there. Well, his son plays football, my little lad, at Barnsley. And it's crazy, isn't it?
Why have they done it, Phil? Just throw the dice. Madness.
No idea. Yeah. Absolutely no idea. It's crazy, isn't it? It's absolutely crazy.
Unbelievable.
But a massive bonus for him is that his stock's high. He's done a good job there. Most his best players have left. They've gone on to play Premiership, Championship, like real good players, and he lost half his squad. And he's done what he's done so far. So it's mad decisions, really.
Trouble is, Matt, you're asking me this question, but I'm all about days out, and I'm in a good day out. So you went to Plymouth this season, so Devon, Cornwall, blah, blah, blah. Birmingham's an horrendous away day. Bolton and Barnsley, obviously, near games out there and that as well. To be honest, I won't mind Peterborough out away. I don't like, they always seem to have a voodoo over us, and it's not great in a way. But honestly, I can't believe we're talking about it. It's a bit too early.
Stay depressing. I mean, tactically thinking, if Huddersfield Town are going to bounce back, I'd rather Plymouth go down than Birmingham. I think Birmingham have got shed loads of money out there to plough in, or whatever you're allowed.
Kevin Nagle said last week, says Huddersfield got gubbed against obviously last week against Swansea. So it's more about Huddersfield on Friday or later in the week. He said nothing.
It was about my air fryer, mate. That's what that was about.
Yeah.
He was sorting me out with an air fryer from eBay.
And the only tweet today, honestly, it almost like something that's most bizarre about Kieran Phillips in Sacramento, and it's I don't know. I just expected a bit more.
You just think read the room again. You look at that and you just think. Well, I mean, honestly.
I mean, he can tweet what he wants about Sacramento, can't he? It's
no, but hang on, man.
There was no need to put like the Huddersfield thing in.
Relegated.
Yeah.
But there was like no need to put. There was no need to put Huddersfield in the brackets like it was a good thing for Huddersfield, if you know what I mean. That was the
but after he said last week on Twitter, and again, this just always comes back to his use of social media that will divide people. But you think he said last week, we're going to talk more, and I'm going to say more, and then he didn't.
He always said win, lose or draw. We're always front up, didn't he? And he's kind of ignoring it, isn't he, at the minute?
It comes out with so much done. It's like. Obviously, people fired into him. I saw someone fired into him and like, if we go down, you better have a go for it in League One. And he replied, "But yeah, we'll have a real go for it." And I'm just thinking, wow, it's incredible. This is almost like two fans like bantering. This is like our owner, and we haven't even gone down at that stage. And I'm just thinking, it's just honestly, it's almost like what to expect next this week. What is going to come out next? It's a bit scary, really, isn't it? And Jake Edwards always been to me almost like the camera of the guys, but like what you said earlier on, Dom, stuff that he said, it in regards to like moving forward and stuff, it's just that trust. I look around the building and thinking, apart from like Robin Kennedy, who does a brilliant job in winning us awards, and other guys that got us, the award at the EFL, I've hardly got any trust in any higher management or any players. I know when you get relegated, this is how it is at a club. You lose faith and trust in a lot of people, but normally there's one or two that you can still think, you can hang your hat on. But at the moment, I'm really struggling to kind of get some inspiration by thinking. Apart from
this ties in well with Dom's questions for the board. He had put something on Twitter, didn't you, Dom, about your questions for the board and different things that you would ask Kevin Nagel, didn't you? If you had the luxury of going one-on-one with him.
I'm not sure I'll be on his Christmas card list at this rate. I've got to be honest.
Or Andre Breitenreiters, I don't think.
So,
yeah,
you're on Dave Carmichael's though, Dom. You said you had a light tonight.
yeah. So I think the board have noticed. They've seen what I'm saying.
Dom, nothing summed up our season more when I don't know which game. I think we're after Blackburn, or it might be another one where, isn't it? We've got a guy in a garage in America interviewing the owner of the club, and you're just thinking, honestly, I do the Yorkshire Rivals thing with other guys, and they see what like our output is like on our social media. They're like, your owner, he's just off his head, isn't he? I know he's a bit eccentric, Nagel, but some of the stuff that goes on, you're just thinking, Jesus, it almost feels like League One, League Two stuff, and we're kind of there now, aren't we? But it's honestly, it's a weird time, mate, to be a Town fan, because obviously when we came down before,
next.
No, we had
I feel as if the first thing that Nagel needs to do is to front up and apologise. I think he's got to apologise for the season, as he's the owner. He's the man there to be shot at, and I think he's got to take responsibility. And it's not all on him. Of course it isn't. I'm not suggesting it is, but I think you've still got to look at it, and you're the leader of the football club, and so he's got to say that there's been a catalogue of mistakes that have got Town to the position that they're in now, and so what is he going to do to rectify it? I think that's what fans want to hear right now. They don't want any more PR spin, and they don't want any bullish talk. They want some clarity on the future and how Town are going to turn around from. It's one of the worst years that Town have had in 20 odd years. It's one of the worst.
Throw season cards into that as well, Dom, because there's they go on sale on the 8th of May. They're going to be League One season cards, and a lot of people are sort of saying, look, if you put the prices up, you can do one. We're not renewing. And the HTSA have said they want a price freeze for League One at least, because that's where they want the stadium. Obviously, people want the stadium full to try and push us back up to the Championship, but there's a catch-22, isn't there, where Kevin Nagel's going to say, well, this club doesn't turn over enough money, I need to put the prices up. So there's two trains of thought there. I mean, it's going to be a difficult time, isn't it? And some people are going to have to make difficult choices. You know, I buy 3 season cards. You know, if he brings in this zoning policy for where we sit, I might have to either move or tell the wife to stay at home. So, see how that goes. But you know, like I say, it's an interesting time, and they've got some really key decisions on and off the field, haven't they, to make, and they've really got to sort of look after the supporter base, because this supporter base at the minute is really pissed off. You know, like you say, they're just sick of losing is pretty much what it is. Just sick of losing football games, and sick of losing football games badly. You know, how many times have we lost 4-0 this season or shipped 4 goals? It's been pretty miserable for the last two seasons. It's not been fun. So they just want some positivity. They want something to cling on to. They want actions, not just words, because there's always a lot of words. They want some actions. They want tangible proof that this football club is going to push forwards, and that's what we need. I'm not really interested, as a fan, I'm not really interested in apologies. I'm interested in what's next and how they're going to rectify it. You know, if he apologizes, so what? It's happened. I want to see what we're going to do to right what's been wrong this season. And I want him to, if he appoints people, trust them to do the job, trust them to do the role. If he doesn't trust them, bring someone else in, and just make sure that Huddersfield Town have got the right people in the right places to move the club forward. And if you do, and there's progress to be made, then people will pay money to go watch good football. That's the way it works. People won't pay money to watch shit football. It's just the way the world works. That's why, you know, there's a lot of empty spaces against Birmingham. You know, Phil's mentioned that, you know, it was quite, I think it was off air, wasn't it, before that, you know, the FML was quite busy. But there were a lot of gaps in the Kilner Bank where I sit across from it. There's a lot of gaps in there for a must-win game, and people are just fatigued by shit football and shit results. And we just want to see something change. We want to see something tangible. We just want to go and be excited. I just want to see a team that can pass a ball. That's all I want to see. I'm sick of watching numerous players just shank the ball into touch with a simple passes on. I'm fed up of it. I really am. I just want to see a team that wants to play for Huddersfield Town, a team that can pass a ball and just win a few games. You know, that's all I want. And I'll buy my season ticket if that's going to happen. But I want to make sure that that's going to happen before I buy my season card.
Relegation is devastating for a football club. That people are going to lose their jobs. Financially, Nagel's going to get hit in the pocket, 7 to 8 million minimum. And this is where it goes back to me for the investment in January, of where you're looking at, you know, he's then spent money on strikers, but they had to get the recruitment right. And so that's one of the things they've got to learn from. They didn't get it right in January, and boy, have they got to get it right in January. They've got to get the pieces there, you know, for Town to challenge. And they'll be one of the big fishers next year. They will be. And so there will be expectation. And you can guarantee this, whatever state Town are in, the bookies are going to be going, oh, Town will be, you know, in the top 6, you know, one of the favourites to get promoted. And it won't work like that. You know, I think Kosi mentioned it on Twitter the other day. You know, we were saying the same after Town were relegated from the Premier League and See It was in charge.
Kosi always says, like, size doesn't matter. It's one of his catchphrases.
So...
No, but it would annoy me though when people were saying they'd go down and rebuild and stuff. I get people want to win more games and stuff, and it was an interesting debate with Stephen Chicken was saying, like, is it, you know, would Town be easy to rebuild in a League One or a Championship? But it's just like, I just think the effort and the, like I mentioned earlier, to get promotion season, it's a massive effort, isn't it? And it'd be far easier to get it right in January, wouldn't it? And just stay up by 2 points and then go over there. But it's
everything would have
stadium to sort out as well. It's just
I mean, everything would have to go perfectly for Town to get promoted like next season. You know, you look historically, it's taken Derby 2 years. It took Sheffield Wednesday 2 years, and Bolton went down to League Two, and Portsmouth, they went down to League Two. And how many
Charlton,
years?
Dom? Charlton, what about them? Charlton, shocking.
And you know what Town are going to need, you know, next year is, you know, there's going to be a lot of travel in League One as well. There's a lot of southern trips, and so, you know, they're going to need durable players. And so, you know, when we're talking about the makeup of the squad, that's where, you know, fitness is one of the huge weaknesses. And so what Town are going to have to build is a fit, robust, athletic squad next year. You know, everything they've not had this season is what they're going to need. And you've got to remember they're playing in, it's not even the Johnson Paint Trophy or what, you know, and that's what it probably was when Phil played. Pizza
Bristol
Cup.
Street Motors.
Yeah.
Is that what it is
So,
now?
like Wembley Day Out that takes you about 15 matches to get to, and that's the point. Town could end up playing if they finish in the playoffs. They could be looking at 60+ matches. So Town are going to need a 24-man squad next year, and so this is where, they're going to have to get a move on straight away with players that are out of contract, which ones they want to keep, trying to get them tied down. And inevitably as well, players are going to get sold. Right? There are some players in Hellick, Donny, Thomas, Nichols. Even though I would argue Nichols hasn't been the player he was from a couple of years ago, and I wouldn't be that disappointed to see Nichols go now. Spencer, but again, I think people
will go, won't he, as well?
and I mean that's a crying shame as well. That's a chat for another day of where you look at Diarra, you
Tom
would think he
Edwards.
was going to play more. Stop it, Kosi.
Might come back, Kosi, League One.
I've made us laugh and I've done my job.
Be perfect for League One.
Tom to be down though with, I mean, no, it's still mathematically not, but to be down with a game to spare is. I think that's disgusting, that, mate. I think
I told you, Kosi, it's 16-0 and we're all right. That's what it is.
I know, it's just, honestly, what's made me laugh doing a lot of these previews with these other teams, it's like, you've got to go for it. I've been getting this about 10 games in. I says, mate, we've been wanting to go for it for like 3, 4, 5 seasons. We're incapable of going for these games and winning. And the Birmingham, but you're going to have to come at us. And it's like, we've been waiting to see the Cardinals for like seasons for that kind of football, and it just ain't in our locker.
I don't get to go to as many matches as you guys do, but from walking away yesterday, it was the resignation at the final whistle and apathy, that really struck me.
It was the Swansea game. I was like, we're down. This is
The anger was at the Swansea game, and again another collapse. Whereas yesterday, But I do feel apathy is what is kicked in at the football club, and that's where, like what you were saying before, Matt, you're like totally spot on of where we need like that shot of Wagner, gegenpressing, rock and roll, and this is where maybe where I go back to sort of, for me, perhaps Breitenreiter isn't the right man. Can Town make a charismatic managerial appointment? Is there somebody out there that could just lift everybody straight away and immediately get players to buy into what he wants to do? And then Nagel and everybody behind the scenes, they can start sorting out the stadium. They can start getting the academy going again and all that. But you have to get the football product right first. And this is where I feel as if it's been a bit overlooked. This is, for me, fundamentally been the problem this season, that there's still not been enough investment in quality footballers to keep Huddersfield Town in the Championship. And if there had been a little bit more and they'd been a bit cuter in the transfer market, we wouldn't be sat here talking about Town being in League One next year.
I think what's weird, though, Dom, it's like, well, we've had other relegations. Obviously, the Premier League's a bad example because we were just out of the step that second season. And when you know you're rubbish, you're rubbish. But the fact that we've drawn 18 games, I think it's just been mentally shattering for everyone, like fans. And the number of debates you've been in, if only we could have turned these draws in, we're sick of hearing it. So it makes you think, are we not far away? Are we miles away? Obviously, we only won 9. You kind of looked at and thought, this game, that game, that the players can do it for 3 games, 4 games. I've never known a season where it's just like totally mentally shattering. There's some right arguments like, well, it's proven they can do it, and all these other managers we've had. When you've drawn 18 games, obviously when you go down, you're not good enough. But when you've drawn 18 games, what is that telling you? It's just it's a weird thing, really. Are we far away? We're miles away, and I suppose ultimately it doesn't really matter. And I think that's what the fans is like so confused because they've seen that in games with 70 minutes we're drawing and like, come on, try and win the game, and Mordin and what's Breitenreiter doing? It's honestly mentally, I think even the fan base is just, that's why everyone's just shattered. There's no energy, there's no anger. There's the one for Swansea yesterday were kind of apathy. It's honestly such a huge job for Kevin Nagel and his crew to lift the town of Huddersfield and the surrounding districts, because when you get people like Matt, wondering if he's going to renew and stuff, this is bad stuff, man. I know a lot of people who's like, You know, it's not even a price thing, Dom. It's
that
like
renew window is going to have to be pushed out as well, because you can't expect people to make a decision on increased prices after the season's finished when they've got 6 weeks or something till the new 6-7 weeks till the new season. They've got to be fair with that. They've really got to.
It was so important for Town to stay up too. When it's become clear in the last 6 weeks or so that they've said that the ticket prices have been low historically over a number of years, and that they would be increasing. And so that's what, again, part of what I think that the plan for the future is that that was based on the needs to be in the championship more. Whereas now I feel as if they can't go ahead with that now. Or again, any positivity that they're trying to create and momentum going into next season, they're going to have to. Again, you're looking at the ticket prices and thinking, can't afford to get that wrong. Or again, you're going to be chasing your tail, and you're going to be copping a lot of flack.
Your momentum's so important going into a new season, isn't it? And something just like the ticket prices just sets people off on that negative edge, can't it? And that puts you on the back foot already. They need to get so much right. But one man who also needs to get things right is a Mr. Richard Kosmala. This week, Kosi, in Kosi versus the World, took on a local, and this is how it went.
When are we going to hold this bold man responsible?
Welcome back to the game show that has got everybody in Huddersfield talking. It is, of course, Kosi versus the World, and this week our Ball Prince has jumped into Bold Force 1, headed across to Huddersfield International Airport, done his safety briefings, gone through passport control, and he's here now in Skelmanthorpe, where he's ready to take on Will Harris. How are we doing, Will?
I'm doing well, thanks, Matt. How are you?
Good. Can you tell well, apart from the football, but tell the viewers exactly what you've chosen as your topic?
We're going English football 2010s. I'm quite young, so that's pretty much the only topic that I think I've got a chance at. So we'll give it a go.
So there you go. There's the first jab and first assault. So.
Yeah, it's good to be playing someone with a bit of air, mate. Both ends of the table, the top and bottom, because the Bald Brigade have destroyed me the last few weeks. So, Will, I'm clinging on any hopes, mate, a bit like Town.
Right, okay, so this game, as we know, it's 5 penalties each. The winner takes all. 2 points for a hard question and 1 point for an easy one, should you get it correct. First up, let's do a quick rock, paper, scissors on 3, just to see who goes first. 1, 2, 3, shoot!
I think I've
Kozi's
won.
not even bothered. I think you just cut Kosi in half, so I think, Will, you get to choose whether you want to go first or second.
Oh, sorry.
Go on, I'll go first, please.
He's watching bloody TV again, isn't he, Kosi?
I know,
do you want to go first, Will? Sorry.
Yes, please.
Would you like an easy or hard question?
Go on, we'll go hard.
Straight off the bat.
Yeah.
Right, after his goal against Arsenal in 2011, this midfielder accepted the challenge of not cutting his hair until he scored again, which took him more than 2.5 years. Who am I?
Jesus. I don't know why I'm thinking. I'll go. Oh, no, it might be a bit late. David Bentley?
No, it is not. The answer is Tom Huddleston. Right.
Oh, of course it was, yeah.
Kosi Bear, if we can get your attention, sir. Easy or hard?
Yeah, I'm looking at you, Matt. Easy, mate.
Easy now. This American goalkeeper scored against Bolton when the wind took hold of his clearance and completely surprised his opposite number. He also holds the record for the most saves in a single World Cup match when he made 15 fantastic saves in an incredible individual performance. Sadly for him, his efforts were ultimately futile in the defeat against Belgium in 2014. Who am I?
Shit. I better get wrong here, but is it Brad Friedel?
It is not. It is Timmy Tourette's Howard. So 0-0. So no
I haven't
goals
got
after the
that.
first
Bloody hell,
penalty.
good start.
Will, easy or hard?
I'll go easy, try and get a point on the board, but yeah, might be hoping too much there. But...
Easy it is. Penalty 2. This diminutive Frenchman scored Newcastle's first goal at Anfield for more than 8 years to help Newcastle earn a 1-1 draw against Liverpool in 2012. A year later, he secured his place in the hearts of the Toon Army faithful when he scored the solitary goal in Newcastle's first victory at Old Trafford for more than 40 years. Who am I?
It's one of two, I think.
That was a good point.
Oh,
I'm going to go Hatton Ben Arthur.
It is not.
Oh, I've gone the wrong way.
Which
what
was
were
the
your other
other one?
guess, Will?
I think is he called Remy Cabella or something?
Johan Cabaye, yeah. That was the
Oh,
correct answer.
No, I think I had the wrong
So-
one anyway. It's fine.
Kosi,
going well,
the
isn't
bear.
it?
Easy or hard?
Let's go easy, mate. Let's try to get in front. Slow
Right.
steps.
This English technician kept on getting better and better during the 2010s. In 2010-11, he was named in the PFA League One Team of the Year. The following year, he was named in the PFA Championship Team of the Year, while in 2013-14, he made the cut for the PFA Premier League Team of the Year after a season that saw him score 9 goals and provide 6 assists for Southampton.
You know what, mate? I'm going to say Ricky Lambert. I wonder if it's Adam Lallana, but go on, mate. I'll say Lambert.
Well, you've just done a will because it's Adam Lallana, and it's
I knew
0-0
it.
after 2 penalties.
Technician. I talked myself out of it. Bloody hell, man.
Will, penalty 3. Can you get on the
0-0
score
good
sheet?
exciting sometimes, though, aren't they? Sometimes
No.
0-0's a good game.
Easy or
I'm
hard?
going to go hard because if I get it wrong, at least it's a hard question.
Will, come on, mate.
This hard-working Argentinian right-back replaced the homegrown Micah Richards in the starting lineup. He went on to play a significant role in Manchester City's
bloody hell.
title-winning seasons in 2011-12, 2013-14. He was also selected for the PFA Premier League Team of the Year in 2012-13. Who am I?
It's got to be Zabaleta.
There's the first goal. We can't put sound effects on this, so I've had to put
Will.
So Will scores 1-0 to Will. That could be a song, that. Kosi, are you going easy or hard?
You know what, mate? Because my confidence has been knocked. Them first few weeks, I'd have gone hard all the time, mate. But I'm going to go easy, mate. It's just tactical. I'm
I
like,
reckon you made the right
tactics,
choice
yeah.
because
yeah.
this pocket-sized Spaniard, just what you wanted, was so impressive
no.
in both feet that even his coaches didn't know which was his strongest side. He scored and provided an assist in the 5-2 victory against North London arch-rival Spurs. Unfortunately, he suffered from severe injury issues towards the end of his spell at Arsenal, but he flourished again at his former club, Villarreal. Who am I?
Sate Cazorla.
Yep.
That's the one.
See, Spanish,
Yeah.
and it's called Kosi Bear. 1-1, fourth penalty. Will, easy or hard?
Oh, pressure.
We'll go hard, please.
Ooh.
Turning up the heat.
The Naki Wells penalty. This Frenchman scored more than his fair share of goals when he skippered Arsenal. However, in this match against Blackburn, he scored at the wrong end, which played its part in causing the Gunners to lose the game 4-3.
Is that it?
Wow. Wow.
Arsenal, French. Is it Koscielny?
It's Koscielny.
Is
Laurent
that
Koscielny.
What the hell, Will?
It's
What an effort.
3-1.
I
3-1.
wonder if it was something definitely like Henri or something, but no.
I didn't know
Wow.
he scored his fair
Laurent
share of
Koscielny.
goals, but yeah.
Oh, no way. Respect there, mate. No way they got that. I'll go
Kosi
hard,
Bear
Matt.
Grills. You going
Hard.
hard?
In
Okay.
trouble here.
This former Newcastle striker scored a hat-trick when Leicester City demolished Southampton 9-0 in the Premier League. He came to England after impressive performances for Tenerife in the Spanish second tier.
Oh, shit. Leicester City, Newcastle. Oh. Is it? Oh, no, I'm going to get it wrong here. I think, is it Perez?
It's Ayoze Perez, yeah, it's
Oh,
3-3.
Get
Kosi
in
Bear
there. Come
equalises.
on. Pressure
Last
on
penalty.
there.
The winner
Wow.
takes it all. Right. Will, easy or hard? This is where you're not sure where to go, isn't it?
Woohoo, Will.
Yeah, I'm really unsure. Go on. We'll go hard. We'll go hard.
This Frenchman, with a penchant for dribbling through defences, it's not Adama Diakhaby, and a past association with the Toon
I do
Army,
too.
was truly unplayable at his best. He had one of these moments in the final round of the 2010-11 season, with Wigan needing to win against West Ham to ensure their survival. After being 2-0 down at half-time, he scored a brace in the second half to lead Wigan to a vital 3-2 win.
Is it Charles Nzogbia?
As Joe Kinnear used to call him, Charles Insomnia. That's correct. So
Is
Will
it? Oh, well.
goes 5-3.
It's got to be hard, hasn't it? Try and get a replay.
This goalkeeper has more Premier League matches under his belt than any other shot stopper of the past decade. He made his debut in the Premier League for Manchester United, but he also made appearances in the league for Birmingham City and 2 other clubs. He runs a successful YouTube channel called The Cycling Goalkeeper.
I wish I don't know this. Birmingham Man U with loads of
How's
appearances.
that a hard one? That's so easy.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Ooh.
Because he has the ball on the spot.
Loads of
Shifts to the right.
appearances.
Shoots out 2 streams of snot. Steps up.
You know what? It's not coming at me. I think this is a disastrous way to lose again here. Gone, mate. Gone.
And it's defeat for the Bear once again as Will takes the game 5-3. And the answer, Ben Foster.
No, I wouldn't have got that.
There we go. That's one more. Kosi versus the world. And Kosi's 3-0 down.
Bad as town. It's shocking.
I made the bold men cry.
Kosi, that's 3 defeats on the spin, mate. What's
Matt,
going
I'll tell
on?
you what, basically the opposition are like Donny Rovers on that kind of run at the moment, and I'm like on a Breitenreiter run, mate. And it's we need a new quiz, and I should be able to pick the topic.
Blame the quiz. Blame the quiz.
As well. But yeah, it's just honestly, it's just such a sad. When you get relegated, we've been there before, haven't we? But it's just such a sad time, really, because it's just. I just remember the effort and the sweat. I've mentioned it a few times, just getting out of that League One, and it's a brutal division, that, isn't it? And it's just like
it took us 3. To be fair, it took us 3 proper goes in it. Before that, before that, we had the financial issue. We went down. We got in the playoffs the first season, but financially we were knackered. We went into admin the second season, went down, came back up to League One, and there was no real investment there from Ken Davey. Not properly. A lot of youth players used. And it was only really when Dean came in 2008 that we really had a proper go at it from when Lee Clark was in 2009-10. And it took us 3 attempts in it to get promoted, and we were quite fortunate when we did. But, I mean, I look at that. When you look at the league when we were in it, though, we had Norwich, we had Southampton.
We had a right team, no, Matt. Some great footballers, some exciting players. Gary Roberts, Bill Kitten, Rhodes.
But the opposition, there were some outstanding teams. I look next season, and potentially League One could be pretty weak next season. It doesn't mean we're going to be good by any stretch of the imagination, but it's there. If you get things right, it could be there. And
but we won automatic though. It's a bit too early.
Mate, I want to see the first automatic promotion since 1983.
We do, yeah.
That's why I want us to win that league, because
I think the thing is though, it summed it up for me, like with the mixed stuff, like the clappers. Everything just seems a last minute thought. It's like the clappers, let's give the prizes away. It just. Like you were saying, Dom, some of the read the room. I get some of the club. Well, hang on a minute, we're giving something back for the fans. But I just thought that what happened this week just summed it all up. Where it's just all carnage. It's almost like people are working, doing all different bits of the club. You get their clappers out, get their prizes out. It's like, right, we'll get this. It's like there doesn't seem to be any collective thinking as a club. It's chaos. You've only got to look, I think, at our internet site. It's chaos, man. There doesn't seem to be any planning or just joined up thinking. It's just mad, mate. Everyone means well and works hard, but it just doesn't seem everyone on the same page as we kind of come out how we started with this team and as manager.
But things could quickly turn, and this is where I feel as if Town get a lot of things right over the next couple of months, and who knows, get off to a strong start next year, then straight away, you don't forget about relegation, but you can move on, and then you can rebuild. And of course, I wasn't in favour of Town going down, and I still, I said it to you the other day, because I still think, of course, it's easier to rebuild, I think, and restructure everything. In the Championship, where you've got more resources and financially you're better off and everything.
Dom, how are we compared to Wednesday? Obviously, you covered Wednesday. When Wednesday went down, and
it's very similar. It is really similar, Kosi. And again, and it took Wednesday 2 years. They finished 4th in the first year. And what Darren Moore did there was, he. In fact, I think they had a worse base than what Town have got. And this is what, again, I cling to, of where, Darren Moore had to bring in, I think by the end of August, he'd signed like 11, 12 players, like people like Nathaniel Mendez-Lang and Saido Berahino and Lewis Wing and Jaden Brown. There were quite a lot of players that, he had to bring in and last minute, and he quickly moulded a squad together. Whereas this is what I'm thinking with Town, of where get the managerial decision, right? Find out once and for all, does Breitenreiter want to be here next season? Does Kevin Nagel believe he's the right man to be here next season? Great. If he is, brilliant. Right. Back him. Right. And quickly go identify what players do we need, which areas we need to strengthen, the right characters. That's when you're talking about recruitment, that's what Town need. When Breitenreiter's hinting at there might be some bad eggs in that changing room, get them out. Get them out of there, right? The rebuild, this is your chance of where there's players out of contract. This is your chance to clear the decks, get in the players that Town can move forward with. And look, there are some bad teams in League One. Right? Matt is right that there are, especially at the bottom end. The amount of matches I saw Wednesday would smash Cheltenham 4-1, Cambridge 6-0 at Hillsborough. There's no reason why Town can't give a good give a good few thrashings next year.
It's been
I
a
can
while
see it.
since I've seen a 6-0, Dom. You're getting
Well, I know we can dream, though, mate. We can dream, but it's possible.
Stockport away, maybe.
But yeah, well, I think Stockport and Wrexham are going to be two of the strongest. I think
Well, I think
they're going to
that's
have
the last
two
time
of
we
the
won
biggest
6-0,
budgets.
isn't it? Stockport away. If
Oh
you remember
God,
that.
Jordan Rhodes, was it Lee Novak? I think scored. Roberts might have scored. Yeah, and Kosi's right. That team after Dean Hoyle had invested in the Lee Clark's. I mean, that's. That had Alan Lee up front with Rhodes and Novak, and that had goals in it. That's what Town have got to get. It's just every department of the Town's team has to be strengthened, big time, and they're going to be doing it with they've got to, League One players. They've got to try and get top end League One players in. And you'd like to think that they will be attracted to come to Town, and Town should be able to give competitive wages. And I think that there will be some transfer money, I'm sure, that's going to be made available from Nagel. If he wants to get out of League One first time and still have a 3-year plan to get in the Premier League, well, he better do it first year. So he better throw some money at it.
You're doing Ipswich, Dom. That's what we're saying.
That's it. Norwich and Southampton have done it, Kosi. So why not Town, eh?
Yeah.
Would you look at someone like Devante Cole or something? Is that what you'd look at?
Oh, yeah. Right, 100%. It'd be somebody like that. Even Macaulay Longstaff at Notts County, around maybe he probably. But I mean, I'd like to think that Town are going to show some ambition, and you'd be looking at players, maybe 1 or 2 marquee signings of where $1 million plus around that. But that's what Town haven't done enough of. And you're looking at players who are going to come back to Town. I'm not sure they're up to it. Players like Hudlin and Simpson, when they haven't done very much elsewhere. But the Town have got to look at the lower divisions. They've got to start getting more gems, and that's where it's scouting, recruitment.
I was
looking at things that we've been crying out for. That's what Town for years have not been good at, and they've got to get better at.
If we stayed up, I was thinking Harrison Burrows from Peterborough would be a really good signing, but obviously that would be dead in the water now with that one. But yeah, I think is that what all we've got time for, haven't we, this week? We're going an hour and 23 minutes. There's a lot of editing for me to do here, so I might have to call it an evening. Phil's had to pop off. He's got a lot of work to do, so Phil wished you all a pleasant evening. But thanks for listening. I don't think that's been as miserable as what it could have been. I think there's been a lot of healthy debate in there.
I wasn't looking forward to it, but we were good. I thought we were good.
Yeah, will Breitenreiter stay? Will he go? The pros for him staying and cons for him staying have been laid out.
It's going to be an interesting week, I think. Will everyone stay quiet? Will we just get on with that Ipswich game and then everything will go after?
Will they throw some kids in at Ipswich? I don't know. Do you know what would really piss me off? Is that this season, these players, if they turn up to Ipswich, win at Ipswich, and make Leeds finish second, I will be absolutely seething with them. Do you know what I mean? Just like, bloody hell, lads, saving it for the end, and then still go down.
Coventry being out at playoffs, Ipswich will be fine on Tuesday. Famous last words and stuff.
I think
then
so.
they need a draw against us.
If they can't
get a draw against us.
If Ipswich are fine, I'd love us to go there and win. But,
Southampton in a mess, aren't they? But I'm afraid it's not a playoff promotion podcast, this, mate.
Maybe next season, mate. Maybe next season. But thanks for listening. And I've got a new song for us to go out on, so enjoy.
2017, we were wrong. What a team. But if there's a league where Town belong, it's League One. If there's a league where Town belong, it's League One. Corberan was the boss. We were wronged by John Moss. But if there's a league where Town belong, it's League One. When I noticed all my funds were low, it was time for Dean Hall to go back to the card fighter. But I got some lovely words to say, and the warners from the USA. You'll be so high, you'll be flying underneath. We had backed on the mall, showed no fight. But if there's a league where Town belong, it's League One. If there's a league where Town belong, it's League One. When we play the games we're gonna play, all the happy clappers love to say we'll be alright. See Kevin Nagel then just after game, and he tweets the things he wants to say. Yeah, you'll realise that we're shite. Shrewsbury, Northampton, Exeter, and Wycombe. 'Cause if there's a league where Town belong, it's League One. If there's a league where Town belong, it's League One. If there's a league where Town belong, it's League One. Yeah, it's League One. If there's a league where Town belong, it's League One. It's League One. If there's a league where Town belong, it's League One. It's League One. If there's a league where Town belong, it's League One. Yeah, it's League One. Long may this not continue.